Hi, and welcome to Hedge Fund Manager. I am Karl-Mikael Siding. You are looking at a picture of my listed equities. My largest listed equity is Leading Edge Materials. It's this big because of a huge share price rise recently. Before that, I had about half the level in the portfolio. And the second biggest is Canna Gold, a junior gold miner, which I think have a 100-fold potential over 5, 6, 7 years. And then we have Kaspi, a super app in Kazakhstan, which is priced at below 9 times earnings, has a dividend yield of 7%. It's highly cash flow generative. It's a super strong position on its markets. Has recently made an acquisition in Turkey, which means they can keep growing quickly and increasing their margins from here. But today I'm going to talk about EMX, which makes up 11.2% of my listed stocks. So EMX, it's not a junior mining company. However, it's financing other junior miners. So this is what it's called a royalty streaming company. What they do is that they acquire pieces of land, they develop these finds and establishes how much material is likely to be there in terms of first and foremost gold and copper and zinc, lead, and other industrial metals, including some battery-related metals. But copper is their biggest asset, and then gold as a second-level asset. Gold and copper could change trade places over time, depending on exactly what is found by the partners that buy these plots of land from EMX in exchange for both cash payments, milestones payments along the way, promises, legally binding promises to invest a certain amount in trying to find industrial assets in the ground, and not least a royalty stream percentage, a net smelter return of whatever is found. So if a company has acquired an asset from EMX with the promise to pay 2% annually of whatever they take out of the ground, then EMX gets either that metal on hand or the net value of that metal at hand at the time of the actual mining of that asset. So in a way, you could describe EMX as holding a portfolio of dozens, actually hundreds of options on future production and prices of important metals like copper, gold, zinc, lead, and also other metals. At the time, EMX is trading at least below half of what should be considered a reasonable price for this company. It is, however, a little bit difficult to actually value a royalty streamer, especially before it really starts coming into its own and start producing real cash flows. And in EMX case, the CEO and the largest holders, they are adamant at growing EMX as quickly as possible. And they're not at all interested in paying too much in dividends, because that would mean reducing their net asset value 1-to-1 with paid out cash, when that cash could actually be used for example, buying their own stock, thus creating twice as much value as they would by paying it out as dividends. And that is not including the cost of taxes. But a lot of share owners, they want the dividends. They want to be sure that there actually is true cash flow being produced within EMX. And without actual dividends, then you can't really be sure of exactly what's going on inside the company, no matter what the accounts are saying, because you never know. And EMX is also eager to use whatever cash flow they produce to invest in new assets, both buying actually already developed plots of land and buying just complete greenfield operations and developing it themselves before selling it against a royalty stream. Let's take a look at the total value and total valuation of EMX. Let's go with the US company. It's listed both in the US and in Canada. I own the Canadian variant, but since these companies always, I mean, they are looking for metals that are priced in US dollars, but their stock is priced in Canadian dollars, so therefore it's better to just look at this. So EMX Royalty Corporation in the US is trading at $188 per share. As you can see, it hasn't moved very much. Well, depending on how you zoom in. Let's take a look at a 1 year chart. But you can see it's going back and forth between, well, low, let's say 170 and about 210. So it's at 190. It's just in the middle of the range. Nothing really happening. The market cap is $210 million US. So this is a lot bigger than leading edge materials and Canagold, for example. But just 100th of the size of Caspi, for example. At $210 million, that's well, they're making. Let's take a look at the price sales ratio. No, we can't see it here. In any way, and a comparable company in many ways is Franco-Nevada. Franco-Nevada is usually considered the absolute best royalty streamers of all time. They are valued somewhere around 20 times sales, and at 20 times sales, EMX would be valued around, I think they are making about 40 million. So 20, that would be $800 million. That would be a 4x the current valuation. However, since they haven't really, they don't have the same scale as Franco-Nevada, they don't have the same track record yet, but they actually, in 5 years' time, they could have proven that type of track record, and then they should and would be valued more in line with Franco-Nevada's multiples. But let's say they increase their sales from the current around $40 million level to let's say in 5 years' time it has. Well, if it doesn't double in 5 years' time, then there's something seriously wrong here. But let's say they are at $100 million in sales in 5 years' time, and that is valued at 10 times sales, or maybe 20 times gross earnings at that time. Actually, the multiples should look even better than that. But maybe they have more sales or more earnings and are trading at just 5 times gross earnings. But we would still, I think a good guess is that they will be priced, have a market capitalization of around $1 billion at least in 5 years' time. Not to mention, they are in cooperation with Franco-Nevada. They have a joint owned exploration company, and they are also Franco-Nevada is actually also financing EMX, which just goes to show that the best royalty streamer of all time is in league with EMX, which is a sign of quality and faith. Anyway, going back to the $1 billion valuation 5 years from now, that is a 5x in 5 years. Okay, that is not super excellent, but it's about a 40% annual compound annual average growth or total return for an investor.